In this video, I'm going to teach you how to do the Wednesday and Saturday workout for phase 4 of the foundation movement system. This is the straight arm scapular strength workouts. Now make sure you stick around right to the end because I'm going to teach you some really good exercise techniques to make sure that you nail your straight arm scapular strength. All that and more coming up.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
All right, now we're on to the 45-degree face-to-wall handstand. This is where you're actually, for the first time, you're starting to get up into a handstand position. So it's starting to get a little bit exciting. Now, there's a couple of things that you need to have before you do this. The first is that we're going to go through some shoulder strength, some of the wrist strengthening. You've done all of this before in the warm-up, but we're now actually going to be doing this as a strengthening exercise. And this is going to be a bonus to the program. This isn't written anywhere in the program. You need to find the time to do this yourself. So after you've done your one set of the wrist warm-up and everything that you do that you've been doing in the program, the wrist circles, we're then going to go into the strengthening. Now I want to emphasize the importance of what this stuff is doing for you. So far you've only done it as a warm-up. Now we're doing it as strength training. So the first knuckle push-up, index finger facing forward, elbows turned in, thumb off the ground. Now what you want to be working towards is being able to do this on your feet like I am here. So I'm on my feet, my elbows are in, I'm coming up and then down. Now if any of you try this, film yourself, have a look and see if your elbows are staying in like mine are there. It took me a lot of work to be able to do that. When I first tried, as soon as I even tried to go up on my knuckles, my elbows just went out like that. And if you're doing that, you don't have the strength in your wrists yet for a good handstand. So how do you get there? Well, first thing, you're gonna go back onto your knees to do them. Then you'll do eccentric, so you'll come up on your knees, then go on your feet and go down slowly. And then after that, you'll go onto your feet. The next one, wrist push-ups, it's the same thing. You wanna try and get on your feet. Fingertip push-ups, no real change there. To be honest, all of the other exercises, it's exactly the way I've taught it in the warm-up. But what I want to talk to you now is about the programming, the volume. You want to do this either 2 or 3 times a week for 3 sets of 10 reps. So you're doing it like a proper strength training protocols. The warm-up, the stretching you only do once, but then the 5 exercises that you do for strengthening, so the 5th one being this one here, we want to do 3 sets of 10 reps of all 5 of those exercises. You take no break between each exercise. You basically just come up, shake your hands out for about 5 or 10 seconds, then go to the next one. Once you've done a full set, you can rest for 30 seconds, and then you just go through again. And if you're not doing that 2 or 3 times a week, so 2 times would be Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, or Wednesday, Saturday, whatever. 3 times would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. If you're not doing that, for I'd say 3 to 6 months, your wrists are not going to be strong enough to do handstands, and you're going to really struggle with it. The next thing that you need to be able to do is have good shoulder flexion, which means you need to be able to get your arms up above your head. Otherwise, you're going to run into a lot of problems in your shoulders. So what you want to be doing here is bringing your arms right up to the wall and being able to touch the wall whilst your lower back is flat on the wall. So you can't really see it because I'm wearing this shirt and I've got this mic on, but what I'm doing is I'm sucking my stomach in so that my lower back pushes against the wall. So my entire back from my head to my shoulders is against the wall. My feet are together off the wall just a little bit. And now from here, I'm going to keep my arms completely straight and lift my arms up until they touch the wall. Now if you're not getting that, if your lower back comes off the wall to make that happen, or if you're only getting to here, you don't yet have the shoulder flexibility to be working on a handstand. And if you try and work on a handstand, I guarantee you're going to run into problems in your shoulders. That's a real ego hit for a lot of people. People want to jump straight into handstands, and it's one of those calisthenics moves that people are really, really keen on. But when you look at the positioning of a handstand, it is you have to be able to get your hands above your head. It's full on the body. You can see the angle that my hands need to be at If I can't get there, the only way I'm going to be able to do it is to arch my back, and that puts an excessive amount of pressure in the shoulder and the upper back, and you do not want to be doing that. So you must be able to develop that overhead shoulder flexibility. Now, if you can't get your hands into that position, make sure that you watch the overhead flexibility video that's in the additional content for high achievers. You must really master that stuff, and you want to make that your, a big part of your life. That needs to be, that's a daily thing, doing that stuff. So all of that said, you've got your shoulder conditioning, your shoulder flexibility right, you've got your wrist conditioning there. Now we're ready to work on the 45-degree face-to-wall handstand. So Richard's going to set up with his hands out quite a distance from the wall. He's going to bring one leg up and then the other one, and he's going to get into his position in his own time. And now let's push those shoulders and head back as hard as you can, Richie, pushing the feet in towards there a bit more, bum in a bit more. Good, nice. You can go on your toes, Richie. Go. Richard hasn't done this one for a little while, so there we go. Yeah, so look at that. What we're trying to get as best as we can is a line from the heels down to the hands as best as you can. So it's pretty full on. If you can come down now, Richie. It's actually a really full on position to do, because when you get up there and you're trying to hold where you push your shoulders through like that. So I'm trying to avoid being out like this. I'm trying to push my shoulders in like that, and at the same time to hold the posterior pelvic tilt, so to suck the stomach in and to tense the glutes. That's what you're looking for. Those are the cues. So flexing the shoulders as much as you can, pushing your head towards the wall and creating that posterior pelvic tilt, so as best as you can, you get this straight line. So when you film yourself, incorrect, correct. All right? And that is the 45-degree face-to-wall handstand. Now, between every set of your handstand training from here on, so for the 45-degree face-to-wall handstand, face-to-wall, anything that we do from here, we're going to be doing a handstand hang between sets. So basically what you're doing is you're going to hold your handstand for as long as you can. In this case, the 45-degree face-to-wall handstand, or whatever progression it is that you're doing. And you'll do that for as long as you can, up to a minute, and then you'll jump off the wall. You're going to come and do the handstand hang, but the time between when you end your handstand, the rest that you have, including the handstand hang, that time before when you end the handstand before you go back to the next one will only be 1 minute. You do not want to take longer than that. So the handstand hang, I've got to go to a bar that's high enough that my feet can easily be off the ground. You'll notice that my hands are very close together. I'm going to do a dead hang, so completely relaxed, and I'm going to look up just enough so that I can see the bar. So I'm not looking like this at the bar. I'm trying to keep my spine in as much alignment as I can. Now I'm going to point my toes, tense my quads, suck my stomach in and tense my bum. So what I'm doing there is my shoulders are completely relaxed, my upper body is completely relaxed, but I'm drawing my belly button in, tensing my glutes to create a posterior pelvic tilt, keeping my knees straight and pointing my toes. So basically from here down, I'm doing exactly what I do in the front body line, so that I'm basically, my body is, it's this principle of a push-pull. When you're in a handstand, you're pushing and gravity is compressing your spine. When you do a handstand hang, you're pulling and gravity is decompressing your spine. So it's really important to always approach your training with a push-pull perspective on things. Every push has a pull and every pull has a push to it. And that is the handstand hang. So this is the band assisted tuck planche. So we've got our band up here. Now the thickness of this band is going to, you're really going to need to play around with this. It depends on how heavy you are versus how strong you are. You can usually buy a band kit that has a small, medium and large band, and they've got these extra large ones and these extra small ones, but most band assistance kits that I've seen online have 3 of them in them, and what Richard's using here is the medium band. So the first thing I want to talk about with the tuck planche, so we've worked really hard to develop this protraction and depression with the movements that we've been working on, okay? So our L-sit has been building scapular depression, and all of the scapular push-ups that we've been doing have worked on that protraction of the shoulders, so learning how to push forward. And then the bent arm and the straight arm frog stands have got us to a point where we're ready to now put some weight on our wrists. So what you're going to do for the setup of this one, we're going to turn the hands out slightly. So the index finger is our point of reference. So this would be index finger facing forward. This would be index finger turned out. And then I'm going to splay my fingers out from there. I'm going to have roughly the space of my hips in between my hands. And then from here, when you do the tuck planche, what I like to do is to push my shoulders down first, so depress, and then drag forward, putting the weight onto my hands as I push into protraction. And what that does is it pulls your body forward until you get up into that tuck planche position. So Richie's going to grab the band and get ready. So it's really important that this goes under your waist and around the pelvis. So it wants to be right down low, you can see. And then the next thing is that the hands, you can see his hands are relatively underneath the anchor point of the pull-up bar. And now he's going to shift his weight into his hands. Watch his shoulders, he's going to protract his shoulders. And then the knees will come up and he goes into that band assisted tuck planche. Rich is actually doing a bit more of an advanced one. Bring it into a more basic one. Bring the knees right in. Perfect. Look at that. So look at that. That's with the back rounded. Now go back to the advanced one, Richie, that you were doing before. See how his back flattened out? Okay, thanks mate, just rest. That is the differentiation between a tuck planche and an advanced tuck planche. An advanced tuck planche is when you lay your legs out a little bit more and your spine flattens out. Don't worry about that for the time being. That is considerably harder than just a band assisted tuck planche. So what you're going to do is really tuck your knees right into your chest, and what you're focusing on is depression and protraction. So you want to really make sure that the shoulders go down, and then when you push away from the ground, the shoulders protract. And that is the band assisted tuck planche. This is the tuck lever. So we're moving up a lot with the straight arm scapular strength here. And what we need to do is really learn how to integrate everything that we've been working on from the tuck, for the tuck lever progressions. So if you look at the horizontal scap pull-in, into the feet assisted arch into hang, into the arch into hang, into the tuck lever, all of them are an extension of the movement before. They're all just basically a way of pulling harder in the same direction, which is scapular retraction, pulling the shoulder blades together towards the spine, scapular depression, pulling the shoulder blades down, and shoulder extension, pulling the elbows down to the rib cage. Doing all three of those things more than, you know, with more intensity and with more activation than you did from the last progression is going to produce what you're working for here. The only difference with this one now is we're going to bring our knees right up to the chest, allow the spine to curve, bring the knees in as tight to the chest as you can, and hold that position. Besides everything that I've just said, the number one thing that you're looking out for is do not bend the elbows. Under any circumstances, do not let the elbows bend. If the elbows bend, it's not a straight arm scapular strength movement anymore. So let's have a look at Richard do it. Beautiful. So you can see his elbows are straight, his scapula's retracted, and they're depressed, which means they're not up near his ears, and his spine is relatively flat to the ground. Now watch when he goes up into this position. Watch his shoulder blades as they depress. Beautiful. And then they retract as much as he can. Okay, so they're not fully retracted, but they're relatively in a neutral position. You can see, let your shoulders protract now, Richie. See that? That's protracted. Pull them back now, and that's in a neutral position. Thanks, Richard. So you can see when he does that, the cue of retracting the shoulder blades, it doesn't actually retract them, but what it does is it brings them to a neutral position and prevents them from protracting, and that is a critical part of the front lever. The other one, that the shoulder blades stay depressed, so they stay down, and then of course, as I said before, pulling the elbows down so the shoulders are going into extension, and that is the tuck lever. Now we're on to the ring circles. This is a scapular control drill. So what the number one thing here is that Richie's shoulders are protracted and we're not trying to depress, but we're definitely not elevating, okay? So from here, let's do a few reps. It's very important that the rings touch at the top and bottom. The bigger the circle, the harder it is, okay? So Awesome, Richie. But it's pretty simple exercise. It's very hard, but it's pretty simple. As long as you keep the shoulders protracted, and of course, if you wanted to make it even harder, now bring your feet further back, Richie. That makes it much harder. So now the circle will become smaller. You can see already it was a little bit more of a challenge for him straight away. Okay, thanks, Richie. So now just do a B-roll, Cal. So now we're on to the single arm scap pull-in. This is basically exactly what we did with the eccentric scap pull-in, but now Richard is going to do full reps. So what we're looking for here is elbow completely straight, depressing and retracting the scapula a little bit as well, which means that the chest will lift up as you do this. So Richard's going to grab on. He's a tall dude, so he can grab the top bar. Now watch his scapula. Depression and a little bit of retraction as well. Hold it for 3 seconds at the top. So we go 1, 2, 3, and then relax. Watch that his shoulders are like this now, and as he pulls, they level out. So his shoulders are horizontal to the ground at the top, okay? So we're looking for 3, 2, 1, and then back down. Thanks, Richard. Just making sure that the elbow stays completely straight, depressing the scapula, and as much as you can, retracting it so that the chest comes up a little bit as well. And that is the single arm scap pull-in. Phase 3 progression for the L-sit. This is where it's starting to get pretty challenging now. Richard's going to demonstrate. Basically, when you do the L-sit, you just need to bring your feet to level with the ground, so parallel with the legs, fully depressing the shoulders with no protraction or retraction. Nothing too complicated about that. Jump off, Richard. Now, the keys with the L-sit really, just like the last progressions, it's just about depressing your shoulders and no protraction or retraction. So the only difference here is by having both legs out in front as opposed to the single leg L-sit, there's more leverage, more of a mechanical disadvantage. Now what we're going to do is teach you how to do compression strength. Compression strength is literally the ability to be able to compress your chest and knees together, and it's critical for a lot of gymnastics work later on, and as we use some of these gymnastics moves like the press to handstand, you're going to need to know this. So the first thing we're going to do is Richard's going to do a hamstring stretch. So he's going to pull his toes back and he's going to grab onto his toes like that. If you want to increase the stretch, what you can do is actually grab with your hands around the side of the feet, bring the feet together and turn the toes out, pull back as hard as you can. So pull your hands back, Richie, that's it. And yeah, that's getting a wicked hamstring stretch there for Richard. Now if you want to make it even more intense, put this down here, and what this does is, now what I want you to do when you grab on, forcefully pull the toes back as hard as you can. You're feeling that more in the calves now? Yeah, it's full on. That gets in the calves, back of the knees and the hamstrings. You're going to hold that for 30 seconds. Once you've finished, you will rest for 10 seconds and then you're going to reach forward as far as you can go. As a beginner, you put your fingers on the ground like this. More advanced, you put your palms on the ground. And Richard, just do a couple of reps for us. What he's doing here, just relax now. So you don't have many reps to do with this because of how much it fatigues you. You're trying to tense the quads as hard as you can, and then you're not thinking about lifting the toes off the ground. What you're thinking of doing is lifting your knees towards your chest. When you think of lifting your knees to your chest, that's going to help you to not lean back. If you just think of lifting your toes off the ground, often people lean back, which is what we don't want. So just do a couple more reps, Richie. Knees up to the chest, awesome, okay. And you want to aim for probably 10 reps like that. So what you want to do is, at this level with the L-sit, you want to be doing a 50-50 work time with the L-sit and the compression strength. So you do one set of L-sit, one set of compression strength, like that for that part of the workout. And that is the L-sit. This one's called the Xiao Peng forward, and what we're going to be working on here is creating strength and mobility through the shoulder, but focusing on the strength that comes through shoulder flexion. So I'll just demonstrate it. What I'm going to do is hold the weight in a supinated grip, and from here I'm going to protract my shoulder, which means I'm not just raising the arm up. As my arm comes forward, I'm going to protract it, so that all happens at the one time. And then when I get above my head, I'm going to rotate and then bring it back, retract here, so my shoulder blade's pulling in towards my spine, and then depression at the bottom. So protraction, elevation, rotate, retraction, and depression. So from here, protraction, elevation, retraction, and depression. And as best as I can, what I'm doing is I'm imagining like there's a wall beside me and I want that weight to follow that wall as best as it can. And that is the Xiao Peng forward. All right, now we're on to the Xiao Peng backwards, and you guessed it, this is just the exact opposite to the Xiao Peng forward. So it's still got this same element of mobility in the shoulder, but what we're now doing is we're developing more strength through the shoulder extension movement, through pulling up behind us. So from here, I'm going to pull up, and then once I get to the top, I'm going to rotate. My arm is fully pushed up into shoulder elevation, so rotate, protraction here, so my shoulder blade's pushing forward and then coming back down into depression. So retracting, which means my shoulder blade is pulling back towards my spine here. As the arm comes up, I'm looking back. Then as it comes above my head, I go to elevation. When I can't lift my arm anymore, I'm going to rotate all the way through. Then I'm going to protract here and then come back down. So if you look from here, it's the same idea of having a wall beside me where ideally the weight is not going to push into that imaginary wall that's beside me there. Okay? For both of these exercises, for most people up to 5 kilos or give or take, or up to 10 pounds is more than enough. So you need to play around with it yourself to figure out what kind of a weight you're going to be doing. For me, I find 5 kilos or I mean, that's, what is it in pounds? It's about 11 pounds or something like that, is plenty for me. But yeah, play around with it, see what you can do. And you can do, there's different ways that we can use rep ranges for this. So yeah, it just depends on what's the current rep range for the program. And that is the Xiao Peng backwards. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We release instructional videos and workouts every week on Monday in Australia or Sunday in America and Europe. And if there's any videos that you'd like us to make for you, if you've got any questions, any tutorials you'd like to see, please leave a comment. And we've actually now officially launched our FMS online training program. We haven't actually started advertising it yet, but it has had a soft launch. If you're interested in getting on board, it is an extremely low price. We're doing an introductory offer. It's only $39 US a month. You can get access to all of our training content, the program templates, everything that you need to do in order to follow the Foundation Movement System program online. And you'll also get access to our Movement Mastermind private Facebook group where you can work with me and my team and our senior members directly. You can upload your videos, we'll critique you, give you instruction, unlimited amounts, whatever you need, and you'll also learn from us by seeing the stuff that we're doing ourselves. If you're interested in that, please click the link in the description of this video and we'll see you in the tribe.
Okay, action.
Now we're on to the 45 degree, actually, you know what? Jump out. Okay, so,
You need to be.
yeah, just hold it in your hands maybe, because I'm going to go down here. Below a horizontal line, he's going to elevate his hips, and now from here he's going to do, you know what? Let's stop, Richie. We've set these up.